a language center, and basically I was doing a presentation on a English learning system, a new program that the company had developed, and I was asked to do a presentation. Now, when I do presentations, I like them to be interesting, I like them to be dynamic, and I like them to be visually interesting as well, because obviously sometimes I might be asked to talk about something boring. So I like to try and make my presentations very interesting and dynamic. So I would always suggest, and here's just one little simple tip. In order to get your audience to wake up after dealing with a rather boring subject, design a dramatic ending. Now, the reason for this is it helps your audience to remember your presentation. They'll remember your presentation as being something special, something good. So, out of the kindness of my heart, just because I really want you guys to see how to deal with these presentations. These days, presentation software like Microsoft's PowerPoint and Apple's Keynote, they give you some wonderful graphic tools. And here's one example. This is the one I used yesterday as a way to end your presentation. So take a look at this little quick ending of a presentation.
That's all, folks.
Okay, so that was the ending to this presentation, and it was just a simple slide. Took maybe about 10 minutes to build with the graphic tools available to the one I use, which is Apple's QuickTime. Of course, I'm sure you can do the same with Microsoft's PowerPoint. So there you go. There's just an example of an interesting ending, something different. It's certainly something that your audience are not actually expecting. It's something unusual, something different. So there you go. That's this week's quick tip, EUTV quick tip. Design an interesting and dynamic ending to your presentation. Okay, let's move in now to Dialogue 2, and we're continuing our little theme this week on talking about feelings. So let's take a look at this second dialogue. Now, this is what we use, or this is an example of a conversation you might use to help somebody cheer up. So here we go. Come on, let's go for a drink. Oh, do we have to? Hey, we've got to cheer you up. Okay, I guess you're right. Good. Now, come on, where do you want to go? Well, let's go somewhere quiet. Okay, so come on, let's go for a drink. Oh, do we have to? Hey, we've got to cheer you up. Okay, I guess you're right. Good. Now, come on, where do you want to go? Let's go somewhere quiet. Let's go somewhere quiet. So come on, let's go out for a drink. Let's go for a drink. I don't want to go. Do we have to? Do we have to? I mean, you can't say, do we have to? That's not right. You got to say, oh, do we have to? And then, hey, we've got to cheer you up. We've got to make you feel happy. Hey, we've got to cheer you up. We've got to cheer you up. Okay, I guess you're right. Okay, so this person's now beginning to change their mind a little bit. So, okay, I guess you're right. Good. Now, come on. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? So, come on. Tell me where you want to go. And then, okay, let's go somewhere quiet. Let's go somewhere quiet. So there you go. There's dialogue number 2. Come on, let's go for a drink. Do we have to? Hey, we've got to cheer you up. Okay, I guess you're right. Good. Now, come on, where do you want to go? Let's go somewhere quiet. Let's go somewhere quiet. Okay, let's take a look at some vocabulary. Okay, so let's go into this vocabulary. This is describing a place. So if you remember in the conversation, you said, let's go somewhere quiet. Let's go somewhere quiet. Now here's other ways of saying let's go somewhere noisy. Let's go somewhere noisy, where there's a lot of people talking. So let's go somewhere noisy. Let's go somewhere quiet, somewhere where there's not many people and it's very quiet. Let's go somewhere loud. Okay, somewhere loud and noisy. There is a slight difference here. Somewhere loud could actually mean somewhere where there's some loud music. Somewhere some really loud music to help you cheer up. The same could apply to noisy, but the slight difference in English here, let's go somewhere noisy would kind of say, let's go somewhere where everyone's talking, where there's a lot of noise, people talking. Let's go somewhere loud suggests some really loud music. So just be careful with that one. You could use noisy for loud music, but I think you're better using somewhere loud in terms of for somewhere where there is some loud music. And let's go somewhere nice, of course. Let's go somewhere nice where there's some good beer, good food, and good company. Good company means other people. So let's go somewhere noisy. Let's go somewhere quiet. Let's go somewhere loud. And let's go somewhere nice. Okay, I think now is the time for this week's podcast. Okay, this week's podcast of the week is BBC Radio's News Pod. Now, I've been thinking about this for a while, actually. What I was thinking is a good way to learn English is to listen to something every day in English. Something that you can download, put on your MP3 player, which taking full use of today's modern technology. And here we have one. We have a daily news pod from the BBC, which is about 30 minutes long, between 20 and 30 minutes long. And if I just quickly read the podcast description for you, it's a daily programme highlights from BBC News, interviews and reports from BBC Radio 1, BBC Radio 4, BBC Radio 5 Live, the BBC Asian Network and the BBC World Service. So there's a lot of different news items there. I think it's a great way to learn English. This probably is more for the advanced listener, but hey, whatever your level, why not give it a go? So this is this week's podcast of the week, available every day, and it's the BBC Radio's News Pod, and you can get it at www.bbc.co.uk/radio/podcast/newspod. And don't forget, if you go to the Apple iTunes Music Store, click on the podcast directory, type in BBC News Pod, you can get it directly into your iTunes. So there you go. This week's podcast of the week is BBC Radio's News Pod. Okay, I think it's time now to do a little bit of practice on our dialogues.